I'm excited to announce today's presenters are going to be Sam and Andrew, two of our best subject matter experts here at 2W Tech. Sam on the Epicor side and Andrew on the data analytics side. So this will be a good webinar for you guys. For those of you not familiar with us, we are a technology service provider, Epicor value-added reseller. We offer Microsoft Cloud, cybersecurity, data analytics, and IT infrastructure solutions. We are an Epicor Platinum partner as well as a Microsoft Gold partner. Sam, why don't you get us started?
I will. Hello, everyone. Just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of set a context for today's discussion. For those of you that have been around the Epicor ERP ecosystem for a while, like I have, won't tell you how many years it's been. There's, many of the tools that are available and have been available for quite a while in the Epicor ERP for analyzing and presenting data views. Those range from some of the tools we've had for a long time, like business activity queries and dashboards, along with custom reports. Whether on legacy platforms, you built those custom reports with a tool like Crystal Reports, or on the modern platforms, Kinetic ERP and Epicor ERP 10 using SSRS. In addition, there's some other tools, one of those being Epicor Data Discovery, which is actually an embedded component that ships essentially out of the box with, I think it showed up right around the Epicor 10.2.500 release, maybe a little bit before that. But anyway, Epicor Data Discovery is certainly another tool that you have in your toolbox for data analytics. And both Andrew and I have some experience with that, and can talk a little bit about its relative strengths and weaknesses, but also wanted to acknowledge the presence of some of the other tools that are out there. An additionally licensed product available from Epicor is EDA, or Epicor Data Analytics. Again, a tool that you have available to you, just not embedded in the ERP, but available for both on-prem and Epicor Cloud customers. And then a recent newcomer to the Epicor BI space is, you might have seen, I think it was about the beginning of March, Epicor acquired a company called Grow Incorporated, and Grow was a specific business intelligence platform vendor, and they were acquired by Epicor. I think at this point we have yet to see how their product specifically kind of offers, some capabilities in the marketplace. But the bottom line is, what we're here to talk about today is how Microsoft Power BI, which is a component of the Microsoft platform, can be used especially to leverage data from your Epicor ERP, and really from any modern release of the Epicor ERP to deliver business insights. And the guy that we have on our team with the most experience and expertise in doing this is today's presenter. That's Andrew. So I'm happy to hand the presentation over to Andrew. I think we're going to be in really good hands, and I hope you get some really good insights and information from Andrew. So thanks for coming today.
All right, thanks, Sam. So what is Power BI? Power BI is Microsoft's industry-leading business intelligence platform. It has dozens of built-in connectors that allow you to combine data from many different sources, whether it's databases, spreadsheets, CSVs, web sources, APIs, just to name a few. So it allows you to combine the data from these disparate data sources into a single data model, and allows you to get a more holistic view of your entire business and the most important KPIs and metrics that you track. The reports that you can build with Power BI are highly interactive, meaning you can drill down, filter, slice and dice, and get down to the lowest level of details within your data to start uncovering insights that you might not have found otherwise. Another huge advantage of Power BI is the ability to automate your data preparation. So rather than spending hours and hours gathering data from your different sources, cleaning the data, getting it all ready for presentation purposes, and then putting it into a spreadsheet and building pivot tables and things like that, you can automate that data preparation right within Power BI, have it feed directly into your reports, and you can then focus all your time on actually analyzing the data rather than getting it ready for use. That can lead to a number of advantages, including fewer opportunities to make mistakes when you're preparing that data, a more consistent look and feel of your reports, especially across your organization. You know, oftentimes we'll see siloed report building across departments where different metrics or the same metric is calculated in different ways depending on who's doing the analysis, or pulling the different sets of data to try and calculate the same number. And when you meet together, all of a sudden, everybody's got a slightly different number. So it leads to a little bit more consistency and accuracy across your key metrics. And then just more frequently updated reports. If it's taking you hours and hours to get that data ready, you know, it's not going to be as often that you're refreshing that data, whether it's, you know, once a week or even once a month. So with Power BI, you can automate that stuff and you can start getting your reports refreshed daily or even multiple times throughout the day and have really up to the minute information to look at. As far as licensing with Power BI, the licenses are $10 per user per month. But if you have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription, the license is actually included. So it's a pretty low cost way to get a really powerful BI tool. So while Power BI can be used across a number of data sources, and we've worked with a number of customers analyzing data from non-Epicor data sources, because Epicor is such a large part of our business here at 2W Tech, we've developed a handful of pre-built Power BI templates that focus on metrics that we think that any manufacturer would value. These templates can really help speed up the process of development so that you can get up and running on Power BI really quickly. So you can see the list of templates that we have here that are available that I'll go into a little bit more detail after this slide. And then one of the templates that we currently have in development but isn't quite ready for use yet. So the first one, the executive summary template, this focuses on kind of higher level metrics like open accounts receivable, open accounts payable, open orders, shipped orders, invoices, things like that. It gives you kind of a month-to-date view as well as a historical view of all of these metrics, and it allows you to view those metrics by customer and all the way down to the invoice or the order level. And here's a couple screenshots from that executive summary template. The materials review template, this one focuses on purchase orders and vendor spend. So you can analyze things like your on-time delivery from your vendors, how much you're spending with your vendors, purchase price variance between invoices and POs, upcoming deliveries, and inventory usage by part. The vendor scorecard report analyzes similar metrics as the materials review template, but it gives it a view kind of at the vendor level so you can compare those values across your different vendors in one view, and then gives you the ability to drill through on any one of those vendors and see more details like trending information and breakdowns by different dimensions, as well as the ability to compare selected time periods versus the same time period last year. And then the production review template, this one focuses on labor entries and jobs. So it tracks things like indirect time versus total time, productivity, overtime, revenue per hour. And then you can also look at estimated setup and production times for upcoming jobs compared to person capacity. So you can tell if you have enough capacity to complete those upcoming jobs. And then it also looks at completed jobs and compares the estimated hours to the actual hours to identify any variances for those jobs. So if you'd like to see any of those templates in more detail, we do have recorded demos of those available on our YouTube page. and there'll be a link to that at the end of this presentation. But today I'm going to focus on the sales review template and give you guys just a demo of that template so you can see Power BI in action and kind of how it can work with your data. So I'm gonna get out of here and jump over to the sales review template. And Sam, can you see the Power BI report template on my screen here?
Yes, I do, Andrew. Looks good.
All right, perfect. Thanks. So this report uses sales order data, and it's looking at your total sales from shipped orders out of Epicor. So this is the Power BI interface. When you build these reports, you publish them out to what's called the Power BI service, which is a web interface that allows you to log in with your Microsoft 365 credentials and access any reports that you've been given access to. So this first page here, sales analysis, this one looks at your total sales with some trend information, as well as a couple breakdowns by customer and by customer territory. So kind of across the top, you get your overall total values in terms of both sales dollars and sales orders. Below that, you can see some of the trending information, both month to month, as well as year over year comparisons within each month. And then below that, you can see who your top 10 customers are in terms of total sales, and then a breakdown of the total sales by different customer territories. So with Power BI, all of these reports are fully interactive. So making selections in charts is going to update all of the other visualizations on the screen. So for example, let's say I'm interested in just the customer territory US Midwest. If I click on that segment of this donut chart here, it'll filter that chart, but you can see that all the other charts also updated. So now I can see the total sales and number of orders just for that territory. I can see some of the trending information again, just for that territory. And then I can see who the top 10 customers are in that territory. So if I click on that segment again, you can see it brings me back to that overall base view. So I can do the same thing in any one of these other views. Let's say I wanted to look at just this customer and I want to see their specific trends, what territory they're a part of, and their total sales. I can do that. So highly interactive. You see really responsive reports as you're clicking around and drilling down into things. So in addition to making selections in charts, you can also set up charts to have drill down capabilities. So let's say I wanted to drill into that US Midwest territory and find out the breakdown by sales rep. What I can do is right click on that segment. I can drill down onto it. And now I'm seeing all of that data broken down by sales rep. And so I can actually click on a specific sales rep and kind of continue filtering down my data. And now I'm looking at the total sales and top customers and trends for just the US Midwest territory and just this particular sales rep. So I'm going to select that one, and to drill back up, I can just click on this drill up arrow, and that'll bring me back again to that base view. So in addition to actually making selections directly in charts, there's also filters available in this filter pane along the right that allows you to look through a bunch of different dimensional values and search for specific values that you might want to focus your attention on. So for example, let's say I'm interested in just the sales for a particular prod group. I can expand out that prod group filter and I can search for a particular value. So let's say I want to look for rod stock. I can search for that and I can select polycarbonate rod stock. And again, you can see how all of my charts and visualizations here are filtered to just that prod group. So it's a great way if you have a particular area that you want to focus on, particular part number, a territory, things like that. You can use these different filters to search for those particular values rather than trying to find them in the charts there. I'm going to reset my filters there. So the last way that you can kind of slice and dice and look at your data differently is through the use of date filters, which are these on-screen slicers here. So there's a couple different options. I can look at it in terms of a specific to and from ship date. So let's say I'm interested in looking at everything from the beginning of this year. I can change my start date to 1/1/2022, and now I'm looking at just my 2022 data filtered. If I reset those slicers, I can also look at relative dates based on today. So for example, let's say I want to look at a rolling 12 months of the last 12 months of data. I can use this to say last 12 and then select months. And you'll see now my data has been updated to show everything between April 29th, 2021 and April 28th, 2022. So this is dynamic. So if I were to come back in here tomorrow, it would be showing me everything from April 30th, 2021 to April 29th, 2022. So it's a good way to kind of get that dynamic rolling 12-month kind of view that we see a lot of people interested in looking at. But there's a bunch of different options with this relative date one. So I can also say, show me everything in this month and kind of have that month to date view. So rather than trying to mess around with the to and from dates in this ship date one, I can just say, show me everything in this month, and it'll filter my data with that kind of month to date view. So that kind of covers this first page here. So I'm going to jump to the next page. So with these reports, you can build a series of different pages that you can navigate through and kind of focus on different areas of your data. So I'm going to jump to this next tab here, standard margin. So this is actually a new page that we've recently added to our sales review template. And it focuses on analyzing your margins, both in terms of dollar amount and percentage. So we built it with kind of a similar layout in mind, where you have the overall totals across the top, your date selections across the top, and then some trending information, some dimensional breakdowns, and then raw details down to the order release level below. So it really lets you take that kind of aggregated view of data and see the corresponding detailed information below with just a couple of clicks. So the trend chart actually uses a split axis, so it allows you to see both the margin dollars and the margin percentage in the same view with different axes to try to see if there's any correlations in the trends between the two. It also lets you see the breakdown of the margin by production group. And just like any other tab in Power BI, all of these charts are fully interactive. So I can click on a particular bar and filter my information. So for example, I can see this steel 410 stock prod group is my top prod group in terms of margin dollars. But if I click on that bar, I can see how my charts have updated, and I actually see a real big dip in my trend chart here. So if I wanted to explore that a little bit more, I can hold down the control key, I can select that month. And now with just a couple of clicks, I've got all of the details for that prod group in that month down to the order release level. And you can see the default sort order on this table is by order number, line, and release. But I can change my sort order on any one of these columns. So if I sort on standard margin, I just click on the header here, and I can sort high to low. If I click on it again, I can sort low to high, and real quickly I can see these two particular order releases are really driving that negative margin amount. And so if I scroll over to the right, I can get some more details, and I can see in this case, the standard unit cost for those parts were $3,000 with a quantity of 15, but our total sales were only $600. So something's wrong there, whether it was bad data entry or maybe the unit cost, the unit of measure on it is off, and this number should actually be a lot lower. But with just a couple of clicks, I was able to identify that outlier, and now I can take that order information and continue on my analysis and go into Epicor and search for that particular order release or that part number and try to figure out what exactly happened with why that margin value is so low. So really quickly lets you take that fully aggregated data across many months or even years of data and get into real specific outliers that you might not have noticed if you were looking at it just in kind of a typical tabular view of the data. So the other option that I have on this tab, so obviously we have both margin dollars and margin percent, and it's really helpful to be able to see kind of both sides to give you that full context. So we have a couple tabs here, one to show you the breakdown of the dollars by prod group, and then the other I can click on standard margin percent, and I can see that same view by prod group, just looking at it by standard margin percentage instead of standard margin dollars. So gives you a lot of flexibility to alternate between different views of similar information. I'm going to jump to the next tab here, the quote analysis. and reset my filters. So if you're a company that uses Epicor for quoting, there's a lot of great information in this tool. You can see total quoted amounts and total number of quotes, as well as a couple different win percentages, which is identifying how many of those quotes actually turned into orders. But just like some of the other tabs here, we've got some trend information, we got some breakdowns by production group, and again, details down below. So with this chart, I can see both the total quoted amounts by prod group, as well as this win percentage in terms of dollars, which is being calculated as the number of dollars for quotes that turned into orders divided by the total number of dollars for all quotes. And then I have the nice handy goal value here, so I can quickly see kind of which are my top performing prod groups against that goal and which ones are a little bit below goal in that respect. I can also flip that same view over to by sales rep. And again, just like in all the other views, they're fully interactive. So I can click on, say, this particular sales rep who has the highest dollar amount of quotes. And if I look up at the two different win percentages, I can see this win percentage in terms of number of quotes, he's doing a lot better. Whereas this one's calculated as just a straight count of quotes that turn into orders divided by a total count of quotes versus the one that's based off of the dollar amount. So you can see, while he might be winning some of these quotes, it's probably that he's winning more of the low dollar value quotes. So having that extra context can really be helpful and kind of draw some insights, again, that you might not have caught otherwise. I'm going to jump to the order details tab here. So this one gives you kind of that more traditional tabular view of data. So I can use my filters along the side to pare down my data. You know, for example, let's say I want to look at just that same rod stock prod group here. So I can search for rod stock, scroll down, and then I can see all of my orders down to the release level in kind of this tabular view. And if I wanted to get this information out of Power BI and into Excel, I can do that pretty easily. So I can hover over this more options, choose export data, and I can leave it as data with current layout and export it as a .xlsx file. So if I click export, it's going to save that file into my downloads folder. And if I open up that Excel file, which is going on my other screen here, and it's loading, just let me drag that over. So now I've got all of that same information in Excel, and this can be really handy for things like sending a subset of your data to non-Power BI users to look into, or for taking notes, so you can, add your comments and things onto this Excel spreadsheet here. Because Power BI is a read-only tool, it doesn't let you write data. So sometimes getting that Excel data out there and adding your own notes can be helpful there. So a real quick way to get data out of Power BI and into kind of the more familiar Excel if you need to. So I'm going to reset my filters here. The next one is kind of a cool visualization. So not a lot of tools have these mapping functionalities, but it's a great way to kind of uncover some location-based analytics. So what this is doing is it's taking all of the customers from the customer table, it's taking the address, and it's plotting each of them as a point on the map. And then it's sizing each bubble based on the total number of sales, and then color coding each of them based on the customer territory. So quickly I can see who my top customers are in terms of total sales by the larger bubbles, and then I can also see kind of regionally where those customers are. And if I hover over any one of those data points, I can get some more information like the customer name, the address, the total number of sales, total number of shipped orders for that customer. I can also apply any of the same filters on this one and look at the data filtered. So let's say I'm a sales rep and I only care about my own customers and I want to see them on a map. I can use that sales rep drop down here, and I can pick a particular sales rep. And now I'm looking at just my own customers. So, it helps you spot things like maybe sales were unexpectedly high or unexpectedly low in a certain region that you might not have uncovered if you were just looking at it from, a table of data or a bar chart. So another way to just kind of look at your data from a different angle. And then, so the last tab here is a really cool visualization and another new addition to our sales review template. So I'm going to reset my filters here. But this is what's called a decomposition tree. And what a decomposition tree is essentially, it's like a drill down visualization, but it shows you all of the different paths that you're drilling down on, so you can kind of see them visually versus, drill into one and see the resulting values, drill into another value, see the resulting values. It kind of sees that whole branch tree view of the data as you break down that metric. So in this case, this tab is looking at our overall total standard margin dollars. And I can drill into that based on any number of dimensions that are defined for this visualization. But I can also, and if I click on that plus sign, I can kind of see which values I can drill down on. But it also gives you these high value and low value options. And these actually use AI to analyze your data and determine what the best dimension is to drill down to the next level to give you the highest value or the lowest value. So let me show you a little bit how that works. So I can start with my overall total margin number. And let's say I'm interested in analyzing some of my low margin value records. I can click on that button and I can say low value, and it's going to think for a minute, and it's going to show me the breakdown of that standard margin by part number, sorted low to high. So I can see this is my poorest performing part number in terms of margin. And so I can kind of keep doing that same drill down path. So I can click low value. It'll take me to the next dimension. I can click it again. It'll take me to customer territory in this case. I can drill again. And so I can kind of keep following that path down and see how that data is broken down by these different dimensions. And then if I get to a certain point, maybe I want to actually see, all right, well, what orders are making up this standard margin and this low dollar amount? So I can go from this visualization and I can do what's called a drill through to the margin details. And now I can get kind of that tabular view down to the order release level with a lot of information about what those parts are, the part type, but it's all filtered down to the selections that I had made before. So part type is manufactured, this is the part number, the territory, the customer group, etc. And again, with this table, I can export that data out to Excel. So I can jump back to that view, and I can actually do the same kind of analysis just from a high value perspective. So I'm going to reset those filters, and let's say I want to follow that path, but now I'm more interested in what are my top performing records in terms of standard margin. So again, rather than choosing low value, I can choose high value. And if I switch my sort order to be descending, I can see, it selects part type as the next level. And again, I can kind of keep following on a particular branch and drilling into the different high values. But the really cool part about this visualization is how easily it lets you switch your drill down path. So rather than, drilling back from sales rep through territory, through customer group, through part type, let's say I'm interested in seeing more of my purchase parts instead of manufactured parts. I can just click on purchase parts and you can see how it changes my full drill down path. And now I'm seeing who are the top customer groups for purchase parts, rather than if I switch back to manufacturing, I've got a few different options there. But it also kind of changes some of the, uses again that AI to change some of the dimensions that return that highest value. So where I was looking at the manufactured part type and it decided sales rep was a better dimension to look at underneath territory, when I switch to the purchase parts, it's actually changing it to prod groups so I can see the top prod groups. So I can change my path across any one of these dimensions. So maybe I'm interested more in these tier 2 customer groups, and you can see it's kind of updating my tree view of that data. So it's a really cool drill down capability. And I think it's really effective for kind of root cause analysis, where you're analyzing a particular metric and you want to see kind of what's driving that overall total value, and you're not sure exactly what you're looking for. You just want to kind of explore the data. So this is a really cool and effective visualization to allow you to easily switch around and jump around in your data and really explore what's driving that total value. So that covers the the sales review template. Hopefully this kind of gives you a good idea of how Power BI can be used to analyze different sets of data, how highly interactive and I think relatively intuitive it is, kind of point and click and really get the most insights out of your data. So Sam, I don't know if you had any comments or anything that you wanted to throw in, or anything you wanted to jump back and look at.
I actually do, and I just wanted to add kind of a little bit of I don't know, I guess testimonial for what this means, because at 2W, not only are we a consulting organization, and not only do I operate in the consulting role with our customers, I'm also a manager within the organization as well. And I just want to highlight, the fact that Power BI is a tool that 2W uses internally as well. We eat our own dog food, so to speak. And I just want to, kind of highlight for everybody out there who's in that management role and who is trying to drive business decision making with data, how useful that is for me. Over the last couple of years of working with Andrew and developing internal tools, I think it's given our leadership group and our managers within 2W a lot better insight into decision-making capability, up to the minute data on performance of the business, analysis of trends, and especially, as we've been going through over the last, 36 months or so, some pretty rapid changes in the overall global business environment. It's really given us a lot more confidence in, rather than just deciding based on feelings or hunches, the ability to confirm those with data. So just want to, add my 2 cents to say, number one, managing your business with data and with data-driven insights through a tool like Power BI can be really transformative. And, number two on that, having access to a data scientist like Andrew. I'm lucky enough to have, him on my team here at 2W, but, we offer that same level of access to, a data science expert like Andrew, who really commands, the subject matter on to our customer base. So just want to kind of make those 2 points for everybody on the call. I'm sure you're thinking about how useful this data or these data views or views like this and use of tools like this could be in your business, but just want to reinforce that thinking as a manager. So, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just add a couple other kind of more general notes, I guess, about Power BI. So because it's kind of cloud-based, where you're publishing these reports to this Power BI service, your data stays secure because it's within your Microsoft 365 tenant. So anybody who needs access to this data needs to be, a member of your organization, and they log in with their 365 credentials to access these reports. You can also control within your organization who has access to certain reports, whether it's executive managers, all users. So you can control that. And then within reports, you can add security. So maybe 2 users have the same tabs and the same visualizations, but you're pre-filtering the data to only the data that they care about or should see. So whether that's by a company or by a department, or even down to, say, the sales rep role, if it's a sales type report. So there's a lot of really good security options for your data. And just, it makes the data really available to anyone from anywhere. So because all you need is internet access, browser access, and then your login information, you can access this report from anywhere that you have internet. So you don't need to be on a VPN, you don't need to be logged on to a particular server or anything like that. You just go to your browser, go to your app.powerbi.com, and you're up and running with your reports. And there's also really great mobile capabilities as well. So there's a phone app and a tablet app. So if you're one of those people who likes to look at these things on the go, whether it's through your phone or your tablet, rather than being on a computer, there's a lot of really great options for that as well. So it just kind of puts all your data at your fingertips, and you can look at it from any different way, from any place, and really kind of turn yourself into a more data-driven organization.
Yeah, and I'm glad Andrew mentioned especially the mobile apps, because again, as a manager, you'll find yourself at some odd time, you're away from the office or away from your desk, and either you get a phone call or an email or a question that immediately gets you thinking, having immediate access, even on my iPhone, to the Power BI app, where I can get in there and do the exact same analytics and visualizations I can do from my desk anytime, anywhere, is pretty powerful stuff. So, thanks for highlighting that too, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that covers kind of this particular template and similar information about Power BI. So I'll turn it back over to Sam and Sue to kind of wrap things up and jump into some of the Q&A.
Great, thank you. That was great, guys. A quick note before we jump into the question and answer part of this. Wanted to point out 2W Tech will actually be exhibiting at the Epicor Insights event. It's going to be May 23rd through the 26th in Nashville, Tennessee. We will be at booth 6. So if you're planning to attend the event, we encourage you to stop by and see us. If you know that you're going to be in attendance, if you want to drop me an email at sue@2wtech.com, or you can even reply to the GoToWebinar reminder email you got, and that comes to me. I can get you an invite to the cocktail party that we're having at that event. So all are welcome. So please, if you know you're going to be there, please reach out to us. And also an added bonus for people on this webinar, if you are at the event and you stop by the booth, we can facilitate a virtual one-on-one Power BI demo between Andrew and yourself. So kind of an added bonus to anybody on this webinar. So wanted to point that out. Now we are going to move into the question answer part of this. So I am going to say we have a lot of questions that came in, so I'm doing the best I can to try to organize and streamline them, so I'm not asking duplicate ones. So guys, bear with me because we really do have a lot of questions here. So let's get started. So the first question, everybody that wants to produce a report must have a license, not just the producer of the report, without E5.
Correct. So the license come into play when you're using shared content. So if I build a report and I want to share it with other users in my organization, make it available for them to use, I need a Power BI Pro license, whether that's me purchasing that $10 per user per month license and assigning it to me, or if it's already part of my E5 subscription, then I don't need to purchase another one. But then anyone else who wants to use that report, even if they're just a viewer and interacting with it, not a developer or editor or anything like that, they also need that Power BI Pro license assigned. So you can think of it as just anything that's shared content, you're going to need a Power BI Pro license to use it.
Okay, where can we download these templates?
So the templates are available for purchase, and you can reach out to our sales team or your client success manager, and they can get you more information about the templates, and if you would like to purchase them, kind of get more information from them.
Are there any browser compatibility issues if you're not using Edge?
No, you can use Edge. You can use, I use Chrome personally, but you can use Edge, you can use Firefox. So I haven't run into any issues with any browser using Power BI.
Even works well on non-Windows devices, Safari on iOS or Mac OS as well.
Yep.
Okay, do you connect to the data using direct query or import, sorry?
So these templates are built using that import model. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Power BI development, the import model is essentially you're going out to your data source, extracting data from it. In the case of these templates, we're connecting to the Epicor SQL database, pulling data out of tables and loading them into the report. And where that comes into play is it takes a little bit longer on the refresh side to get the data in. And your data is only as fresh as your most recent refresh, but the interaction with the visuals is a lot faster because you're not waiting for it to go back to the data source and pull the most recent set of data and analyze it. So these templates specifically are built with an import model, but direct query is another option depending on what type of data you're analyzing. And that direct query is basically just a live connection to the database. So if you make a filter on a chart, it's going back to the database, it's pulling the data and filtering it and giving you the most recent set of data. So it's going to be up to the second live data. But depending on how much data you're analyzing or how complex the measures are that you're calculating, it could take a little bit longer as you're interacting with those charts. So I think there's some kind of advantages and trade-offs of both, and it's really specific to kind of what metrics you're analyzing and what the data looks like and how much data you're using.
Okay, so I think you maybe just touched on this, but I'm going to ask it just to be safe. Where does the data actually lie? Can it be local?
Yeah, so you're actually pulling the data into memory in the Power BI report. So the Power BI report holds the data. So so it's extracting the data out if you're doing that import model. If it's that direct query, then it's accessing the data through a live connection. And so when you publish these reports, if you have on-premises data, whether it's on some server somewhere, so you develop that report, connect it to that data source, and you publish it out to the web service. What you do is for any non-cloud data sources, you can install what's called an on-premises data gateway, and basically that acts as the bridge between your on-premise data source and the cloud published report in Power BI. So hopefully that answers that question.
Okay, I think these next two are kind of follow up to that, so I'm going to ask them both at the same time. Can the imports be on a regular schedule, and how is the data downloaded and refreshed into Microsoft Power BI?
Yeah, so I'll answer the second one first because that's through the use of that on-premises data gateway, which again acts as that bridge between the published report and your on-premise data source. But with that import model, you can define the refresh schedule. So typically what we see is most of our clients will do either a daily refresh or like a twice daily refresh. So you define the schedule and say, I want this to refresh at 3 a.m. every night so that when I come in the next morning, I have data through the end of yesterday, and then maybe another refresh at noon to pick up some more of the data throughout the day that's been added. So yeah, you define that schedule. It allows you to refresh it up to 8 times per day. Depending on what you're looking at, that could be overkill, and oftentimes we'll see even just the once per day refreshes is a huge improvement from previous reporting capabilities where you were updating spreadsheets maybe once a week. But long answer short, yeah, you define the refresh schedule that you want it to run on.
Okay, and I apologize in advance, Andrew, because I think this was asked, and I'm going to ask it to be safe. Is this live data from SQL or an exported copy? If it's a copy, how old and fresh, and how live can you actually make data?
Yeah, so the templates that we've built are pulling from the Epicor SQL database, so it doesn't require like a replication of the data. You can connect to your live data, and if you install Power BI on a separate server, whether it's like an integration server or some other separate server that has access to that SQL data, you can avoid running into resource constraints where you're affecting your performance of your actual Epicor system. So it's really only going to take a little bit of a hit when it extracts that data and pulls it in, but it doesn't require any sort of replication. You can connect directly to the SQL tables, which is what we're doing in this case with these templates.
Okay, just a quick note for people. So we have probably at least 20 more questions to get through. So I know we're coming up on the hour. Sam and Andrew are going to hang with us. We're going to get through all these questions, but if for some reason you have to bail before we get to your questions, just shoot me a note and we'll do the best to get you an answer sent to you. Okay, so I just wanted to interject that before we go on. Next question. Are you using data connections to the Epicor REST API? I didn't see what connections you use to the data.
No, these connections are direct SQL connections.
And just to add a little bit of color to that, Epicor did not intend or design the REST API as a bulk high volume interface to data. It's really designed more as a transactional interface. So it is possible to use the REST API. However, very large data sets, for example, part tran or labor detail or another one of those, it's generally not practical to use the REST API for access to those data sets. So, we could be glad to go into more detail about how we can accomplish those things through a REST interface, but that's definitely beyond the scope of this call.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Next question. Does the 2W Tech team provide support in modifying any templates for specific Epicor configurations?
Yeah, so, oftentimes when we talk about these templates, I like to make a point of saying you can think of these really as like a starting point for development. So you're not locked into exactly the way that this is set up. So, for example, like in that sales review template, maybe you don't really care about that donut chart being by customer territory. You care about, you're a multi-company one, so you'd rather see that by company. So as part of the implementation of one of those templates, we would help you kind of apply any of those customizations, or maybe your goal win percentage is slightly different, so we can adjust that. So we can help you change and kind of customize those things, and we can also add to these templates, and so we can build entirely new tabs. We can bring in custom fields as filters or whatever it might be. So basically, we would just sit down with you and say, here's the template as is. How do you want to customize it? How do you want to enhance it? We'd scope that out and kind of figure out what the level of effort would be to get exactly what you're looking for. So you're not locked into the exact design and layout of these templates. You own it. You can customize it kind of however you want.
Okay, next question. Can you connect information from multiple cloud site IDs? So see sales comparison from one company to another company when they're not connected directly through Epicor as one cloud instance.
Yes, I believe so. So like you can combine multiple different data sources into one. So if it has to be separate connections for these different companies, you can connect to both of them and load them into the same data model, the same way that, let's say you had Epicor data, but you also have a separate payroll system with related information. You could connect to both of those, put those together in the same data model. So yeah, you can add different connections from different data sources and combine them as long as there's some sort of logical key between the data that tells you that this data from here equals this data from here. You can put them all together into one report.
Okay. Does the Power BI support Foxpro database data tables?
That I would have to look into. Sam, I don't know. I'm not as familiar with Foxpro. I think that's an older Epicor thing. So I haven't personally worked with that. So I would have to look into that. But Sam, maybe you have more info on it.
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that's a pretty old database. However, generally speaking, if you have an ODBC driver for it, there's pretty good chance we could make it work, but we haven't personally used Foxpro data.
Yeah. So ODBC is a data connection option within Power BI, but I would say, if you were interested in using Power BI with that, we would probably just want to take some time to confirm with you that we're able to connect to your data and access the data that you're looking for from there.
Okay. Could you use Power BI to create a model to produce financial statements? I'm thinking something similar to what the old AFR product could produce.
You probably could. I think you would just have to really know all of the right exact calculations that you're looking for. And some of the things that I've seen with financial statements in the past is, you're used to like an Excel kind of view of things where it's real static, where it's like you're looking at this month and last month and it's always that. And then the next month you have a separate file that's looking at the new month, whereas Power BI is a lot more kind of interactive. So as soon as you start adding the ability to start changing your date selections and, it makes what that month to date or year to date kind of functionality is a little bit more, I don't want to say confusing, but let's say you had something looking at month to date and then you pick something from a previous month in the past, what does that month to date really mean? So I think you just have to have really good control over exactly kind of what you're looking for. But I think if you can define kind of the calculations that you want, you could probably build something for what you're looking for from that perspective.
Okay, and I think you answered this one, Andrew. Just to double check, how are you creating a link between Epicor and Power BI?
Yeah, so that's just through the built-in connectors. Again, we're connecting to the SQL database. So there's a SQL Database Connection option when you build a report in Power BI. So you define the server name, the database name, and then it'll give you the list of tables and views, and you can choose from that, and that's how you load the report in.
The sales portion has been explained. Is BI also reports related to productivity, efficiency, payroll hours, indirect time, etc.?
Yeah, so we have a production review template that looks at more of like your labor entries and job information that might cover some of that information. But essentially, if the data exists to support a particular metric, you have access to that data and you're able to get it out of the system, and you can define what that metric is, you can pretty much build a report for any set of data to analyze kind of any metric. So yeah, you could. It's a really flexible tool. So these are just kind of some of the pre-built templates that we think are valuable to people. But we can always go custom route and build custom reports to pretty much analyze whatever you're looking for.
Okay. A follow-up question to something you said. Did you say a phone must also use the Power BI app, not just the browser on the phone?
You can use the browser on your
either
phone.
a browser or the app are both options. And as typical, depending on the application, generally an app built for the platform will deliver a little bit better user experience, but sometimes will be limited in features. For my personal use, I like the app on my iOS phone. But again, depends on the use case a little bit. In some cases, a browser may be a better choice.
Okay. Can a template like this be shared and reconnected with local data stores, or is it really not portable because of the Epicor on-premise might be different?
We could probably adjust the templates to point to Datastore. There'd be some kind of replumbing of the back end because this is using basically your standard Epicor tables, whether it's, order detail or part tran or customer, right? So it's looking for specifically named tables and specifically named fields. So the templates could probably be replumbed to point to a different data source if it needed. It would just take a little bit of development time to make that work.
I know we already asked this one. Okay, here's another one. We use Multicompany for one region in the world. Otherwise, our orders come in through another company. How would this accommodate that?
So all the data across companies are stored in the same tables. So like if you have, order details, it's going to have a field for company name where it's got all the data across the companies. So you could load that entire data set and add a filter by company if you wanted to filter to a particular company. Hopefully that answers it. Yeah, so you can have a multi-company data set, and we've worked with some customers that do have more than one company, and allows it to aggregate all the data across all companies, if that makes sense, or filter to specific companies and be able to switch between them.
Okay. How have you found Power BI compares to data discovery?
So I would say it's a lot more powerful. You get a lot more different visualization types. So like, for example, the map visualization, the split axis chart where you have the bars on your left axis and your line on your right axis. So it gives you a lot more visualization options and a lot more flexibility in terms of the layout. So with EDD, you're really working within like a grid where it's like a 10 by 5 grid or whatever it might be. And so you can kind of drag things into place and kind of drop them in. But you're limited in terms of kind of how it works and how you want to lay it out more specifically and how you want to format texts and numbers and colors and things like that. So with Power BI, you can get a lot more of exactly what you're looking for, versus EDD is you're kind of working within the confines of that tool, and it's a little bit more limited, at least at this point that we've seen. EDD is great because it's built right into Epicor, so you can drill down and then jump right into records in Order Tracker, Job Tracker, whatever it might be. So that integration is really helpful. But I just think you get a lot more flexibility with Power BI, and also the ability to add, multiple data sources, or with EDD, you're building off of one visualization off of one BAQ, versus Power BI, you build an entire data model with multiple different kind of sources of data, and then you can build all sorts of related tabs and different visualizations to kind of make it a more robust report, whereas kind of that EDD is more one BAQ to one visualization. So it's a little more siloed, in my opinion.
Okay, what about what's involved with linking on-premise ERP to Power BI?
Yeah, so basically you would install Power BI Desktop somewhere that has access to your data source, like the SQL Server, for example. So if that means it's installed on a server where that SQL Server resides or has access to that server, you can install it there and then establish the connection. If you have a VPN where you can just access your SQL database directly from your laptop, you can do development there. But then the real key piece again is that on-premises data gateway has to be installed on some machine that's always up and running. So typically that's why we like to put it on an integration server, some third party, or separate server from SQL that has access to that database, because then it's going to make that connection to the data through that gateway.
Okay. Are you creating data models that anyone can use in Power BI?
Yeah, so with these templates that we've built, the back end of it is a data set that's a kind of a comprehensive data model. And so hopefully this answers the question that you're trying to ask, but you can work with that template and build other reports off of that same data set. So let's say I take that sales review report and data set. I have the one report tied to that data set, but I can build other reports separate from the template one, pointing to that same data set, so they're being refreshed at the same time and the calculations are all the same. You're just building different visualizations and kind of putting it in a different report. So if you've got people on staff that are comfortable with development or learning how to develop in Power BI, they can take those templates and tweak and adjust them and work with that data model to build what you're looking for.
Okay, getting down to the last few here. Based on the demo that you conducted, I'd have a few tweaks to this. Is these templates customizable, or are we set with what you have?
Nope, totally customizable. So we would just basically take have a scoping call with you and kind of figure out, we'd start with the template as is, get that implemented, make sure that the data is correct and flowing through and making sense. And then we'd sit down and scope out, okay, what enhancements or customizations do you want to make? Get a full list of those down, figure out how long that would take, and then start, enhancing that template to kind of fit what you're looking for. So we see that a lot, where you start with the basic template and then use that as a building block to add to it and make it your own.
All right, this is a follow-up to that one. Do these customizations include the tables and fields that I can pull into Power BI from my Epicor ERP?
Yeah, so you can add, like I said, you can add custom fields. So, let's say you've added UD fields on different pages in your Epicor, we can add those fields to your data model and pull, or add different tables or different fields if there's more information that kind of supplements the existing template. So can definitely do that.
Okay, two more, unless we get more coming in. If I buy this template, do I get any updates and enhancements, or is it one and done?
Yeah, Sam, do you want to take that one?
So we actually sell these templates two ways. One is they are available for direct purchase, which is you get the template along with services to implement it and a basic allowance for customization. So that's the purchase option. And that does not include subsequent updates. So if we make an enhancement, 6 months after you purchase, we can do that on a time and materials basis, deliver that update. However, if you purchase it on a subscription basis, basically twice per year, we will review and update any subscribed templates that you purchase. So that's the difference between the subscription option and the one-time purchase option.
Okay, hold on one second. I think we have one more. Yep, if I'm an Epicor public cloud customer, is this available to me?
Sam, you want to take that one too?
Well, and we've anticipated this and we've been working really hard. At this point, we don't have a product that is ready for announcement, but we're working very hard to be able to deliver this for Epicor Public Cloud ERP customers as well. And definitely, if you're interested, please let us know your contact info. Just, you can let Sue know, because as soon as we have a product available, we'll definitely be letting you know, and we can talk then. We're anticipating something very soon.
Andrew, a question that just came in, which I think is related to the interactive demo on our website, right? But someone's asking specific for other templates they can view, particularly the production one. You have an example of that on that website, correct?
So there's a demo on the YouTube page of that production review template, as well as the other ones that I didn't show today. So there's you can go out to there and kind of see me demoing that and kind of get a feel for it. The interactive demo that's on our website is just that sales review template. That's the only one we have available that you can actually go in and click around and get a feel for. So you can look at the YouTube video, or you can reach out and we'd be happy to schedule a demo directly with you of that as well.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Yeah, so that's all our questions. So if we missed one inadvertently, I apologize. Just shoot me an email, and again, I'll get you the answer. Thanks for those of you that hung with us. I know this went a little long. As Andrew just mentioned, the QR code for our YouTube channel is up on your screen. You can just point your device to that. It'll take you right there. Or if you go to YouTube, you just search 2W Technologies, you'll find our channel, and all of our archived stuff is up there. If you have any questions, you can reach out to your customer service rep, or as I mentioned, just go ahead and reply to the GoToWebinar reminder from myself, or our sales team is always available at just sales@2wtech.com. Or just go ahead and drop us, contact us the old-fashioned way and give us a call, whatever works for you. But thank you so much, Andrew and Sam. That was a terrific presentation. Thanks again for hanging in there with all those questions. Everybody, thank you so much. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Sue, and thanks to everyone for attending today.
Thanks, everyone.